Edwards claims the affair ended before his presidential announcement on December 29, 2006, but new pictures that have surfaced show Riel with Edwards that same week. Meanwhile, a friend of Miss Hunter told Fox News that the affair began much earlier than Edwards is admitting. Take a listen.
Mr. Edwards is factually incorrect in what he said Friday night on television.
When do you say it began?
In February of 2006.
Now, John Edwards says it began much later.
Yes, he does.
And you say that their affair began before she was employed by the campaign.
Significantly before.
Joining us now, GOP pollster Chris Wilson, author of Freedom Is Not Enough, Ronald Walters, and from townhall.com, Amanda Carpenter. Amanda, I got to admit, I'm as interested as anybody in this story, and I'm not at all pleased with John Edwards, a guy who I supported for President of the United States. But he's not at this point running for office. Is it really important to know what the timeline is and whether he was truthful or not?
Yeah, it absolutely is, because John Edwards has used the timeline of his affair as a reason to deny paternity in this matter. And as it stands right now, there's a child that doesn't know who her father is, and everybody should have an interest in making sure that this child finds out who her rightful father is so that she can be loved and supported
Amanda,
by him.
there are probably millions, if not probably thousands of children in this country who don't know who their father is.
Well, does that make it okay, Alan,
no,
for John Edwards, a man that campaigned nationally on moral values, to possibly deny this daughter? I mean, it's something that he needs to come clean with, and the paternity needs to be identified.
You care because it's John Edwards, who's a Democrat who ran as a liberal for president, or do you care because you're very concerned about this child when there are thousands of other children who are in the same predicament?
Well, I don't think it makes it okay, the fact that there's many fatherless children. I mean, John Edwards is a man who made his name on poverty, and if anybody, he should be interested in finding out the father of his child, because everyone knows children most likely to grow up poor in America come from fatherless families.
All right, Ronald, you know, we're raking John Edwards over the coals. He clearly behaved badly. We're still not sure he's telling the truth. How far do we want to go with this? Do we want to just keep him front and center in the media for how much longer now?
Well, I don't think that it deserves to be carried to the media too far. One of the problems of conservatives is that they want to raise sort of moral questions to a national level about everything, and once it's over, you really haven't resolved anything. Hey, Ronald, this is really a personal tragedy for John Edwards and his wife Elizabeth.
You must be talking about Mark Foley and Larry Craig and Senator Vitter, because I know all the liberals that I know.
And on and on and on.
And Jesse Jackson, and I know.
That's right.
You know, I know that conservatives are ignored. There seems to be a double standard, though, which is the point here. Is it that, conservatives have a higher standard, a higher bar, because they actually take a stand on moral issues, and that it's, it's not as important to Democrats? Can one conclude that?
No, one can't conclude that they have a higher moral standard when you look at the whole slew of Republicans who have come under some moral scrutiny, and that's one of the reasons why the American people are turning to folks like Barack Obama, because it simply doesn't wash.
Would it be a fair question to ask Barack Obama if he's been faithful, or is that over the line?
I think that's over the line. I think you go too far. One of the problems is that the media has now begun to vet everything and every candidate according to some sort of moral evaluation. And I think that there is a sense in which you can go too far with this.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about the development today that apparently he took this woman on his announcement tour when he was announcing for the presidency? That was a little bit shocking to me. I'm thinking, at what point did he not think that that's not a good idea, considering this is the presidency we're talking about?
It's the lack of judgment here is just astounding. I mean, we've really moved from 99% dishonesty or incorrect of the National Enquirer to now we're wondering we may be down to 60 or 70%. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's really John Edwards invited this on himself. He takes a group of bloggers with him on this trip. Sure, someone's going to write about it. We're really just we're probably just days away from a Monica Lewinsky and the rope line type of shot between the two of them, and then it's going to come all right back up again whenever it really doesn't belong, as prominent as it has been.
Hey, Ronald, we always talk about personal behavior, and this is private business, and it's not shouldn't be for public consumption. But if you take a vow, a promise, a pledge, a solemn vow, and you promise to love, honor, cherish, be faithful to, in good times and in bad, rich or poor, better or worse, and be faithful, till death do you part. If you can't keep that vow, why should people not be suspect if you keep a vow to, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States?
Well, I think you've got something there. On the other hand, We don't know all of the circumstances surrounding any one
I didn't ask
of
that.
these issues.
If you don't keep that vow not to have an affair with your wife, why should we? Wait a minute. Why should we believe that you would do it?
You don't know all of the circumstances around which any of these men
Well, we
or
do
women
know the circumstances. Wife had cancer.
And that's one of the reasons.
He's announcing for president, and he's having an affair.
That's one of the reasons why it is really redundant to try to deal with somebody's moral problems, because you don't know all of the circumstances surrounding them, and you try to hold them to sort of one fictitious standard when there really isn't one standard.
So why do we have vows? Why do we have vows in marriage if we're not expected to keep them? And you say he's the one that said it's okay to beat him up because he's beating himself up over this.
I mean, Sean, you've got to look like John Edwards was one of the first ones to jump on Bill Clinton.
Let me be clear. I think John Edwards was stupid. I think he was stupid to do this because he should have known that he would be under tremendous scrutiny. And for somebody who was running for president to have done this really shocks me.
Yeah,
but having said that, I think we're talking about the issue of morality in politics.
All right, Amanda, I know you want to weigh in again, and Chris, stay right there. We'll have more with our panel coming up right after the break, plus Senator Edwards' troubled timeline when we get back. And still to come, a new report suggests Obama has a new campaign advisor. So what could Hollywood hotshot, good old George Clooney, be doing to help the presidential hopeful?